Hey, happy new year, guys. Milan 1, Cagliari 0. Yeah, I mean, we start the year off with a massive W. We cannot complain with that. Fantastic to start 2026 off with a win, of course, with the first team to play since the year started. We can watch everyone now comfortable with our 3 points back safely at Milanello. So, yeah, Cagliari 0, Milan 1. What do we think about this game? Other than the fact that we sit top of the table at the time of recording, which is fantastic, until tomorrow. We've got a whole sleep being at top of the Serie A, which is absolutely beautiful. Again, lovely, lovely, lovely to see that. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it yet again, because it is my absolute go-to phrase until I get proven otherwise, especially against these low teams. A game of two halves, okay? The first half was probably one of the most boring we have played in a long time. It was all Cagliari, if I'm being perfectly honest. I'll go through the 11s in a moment. I'm just going to give you my snapshot, instant thoughts to start off with, and then we'll go through the players, go through the performances, what happened was good, what happened that was not so good, and some general other thoughts as well. But yeah, I mean, first half was rubbish. I'll be really honest. Estepinian in particular looked like he'd had a bit too much to eat at Christmas. I mean, the guy couldn't run. There was a moment, I think, at the 15th minute, he was trying to track a dopo, I think it was, and from Cagliari, and yeah, just couldn't. Just looked like he gave up. Very, very odd first half from Estepinian. Tomori was also very poor, very rash in that first half. And generally, we just looked not arsed or lethargic, which we have done for quite a while. Different managers, different times against these sides that don't seem to excite us, don't seem to get our mentality going. We've had starts like this before, and to be honest, I would argue if it wasn't for really Cagliari having nothing up front and being a piss poor side from an attacking perspective, any other team, those sort of chances we let in the first 10 minutes in particular, we would have conceded a goal or two, or at least really made Manyan work for a couple of saves. So that wasn't great to see, if I'm being perfectly honest. But as the second half drew to a close, we did have a few opportunities, and you could see that we were slowly getting a bit more back into the game. Talking about the starting 11, before we go into the second half and talk about the individual players, of course, we have Mike starting in goal. We had Tomori, De Winter in the middle, and then Bartesaghi playing left centre-back, who I have to say had an absolutely incredible game yet again. Physically, Bartesaghi at 20 years old looked so at home in Serie A. I really think this guy could be something special. We've got at left back, or left centre back, left wing back. He's incredibly versatile for such a young age. So he played there left centre back, and he was fantastic. Estepinian played left back, Rabiot left centre mid, Modric in the middle, Fofana on the right, Sanamaka's right wing back, and then we had Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Leao up top. Now, I want to mention Ruben quickly before we go on to the second half and a few of the more standout performances. As I say, it's classic Ruben. I think there's quality in what he does. He's technically really good. I thought he was actually all right this game, but again, has nothing really to show for it. He's a bit of a passenger kind of player, but I do like him. And he sort of does work a bit better in this more advanced position, but there's not really a place for him in the team. I get why he might want to leave. He's really only being started out of necessity, with Nkunku being injured and Füllkrug only just joining. And we'll touch on Füllkrug in a minute because he did make his debut. Yeah, and then obviously Ricci came on, Füllkrug came on, Gabbia and Pulisic. So yeah, the 11, fine. I was happy with that. There's not really much more Allegri could do. This 11 is completely skin in terms of depth, as we know. So yeah, no worries there. As I said, sort of poor performers for Fofana, Estepinian in the first half were particularly bad, and I don't think Tomori was great, but he made it up in the second half. So yeah, honestly, not much to report in the first half. Other than that, it's a bit of a non-event. We came away from it kind of pretty bored. But the second half started, and we looked again a little bit, or a lot like a different side, looked more up for it, had the energy and the desire. And again, it's just a shame to see that we need a kick up the arse. We need something against these lower teams to motivate us. And Cagliari away, it's not an easy place to go to. You're going all the way to Sardinia. It's a bit like it's the furthest game away. It's the first game back in 2026. I think there was a bit of pressure for us, especially to get the W, right? So it was no guarantee we'd come away with 3 points for this game. So it good to see Allegri or whatever happened in the dressing room. We came amped up in the second half, and I have to say Modric in particular in the second half really stood out for me. Modric and Rabiot. Rabiot obviously got the assist for the goal, which I'll talk to in a minute, the 50th minute with Rafa. Yeah, Modric was fantastic. Modric and Bartezaghi, for me, were the two standout players tonight. I thought they were fantastic. Rabiot as well as a shout, but I think Rabiot is so incredibly consistent that I'm kind of used to him at this level. Same with Modric, you could argue, but Modric was particularly good, mainly because he's had, I would argue, his sort of worst run of games in a Milan shirt prior to this. He was a bit, was a bit better against Verona, but really not amazing the last few games. Still been incredible, but not the levels that he started at. But this game, he was back there. He was back at that level he started the first few games of the season, or the first sort of 5 or 6 games where he was just unplayable. He was brilliant. Leao, I want to touch on Leao as well. So Rafa, interesting. He was completely ineffective in the first half in particular. I think actually the reason why Loftus-Cheek gets a bit more of a pass for me, maybe other people might be a bit more critical about Loftus-Cheek, is because he was made to look a bit better in the first half by the lack of Leao being involved in the game. Loftus-Cheek was actually much more involved. But anyway, a fantastic run on the counter in the sort of 49th minute by Rabiot, and he cuts it back with an absolutely pinpoint accurate pass. And Rafa just takes a touch. He slips. The pitch was slippy. The conditions weren't great. I'm interested about that because there was quite a few slips. Rafa on the tail end of most of them, but he does tend to slip a little bit more. Also his groin. We don't know. I don't think he was fully fit. Anyway, he took that ball from Rabiot in the middle from that amazing crossfield cutback. And he took it with aplomb and just fired a shot into the roof of the net. Slipped, doesn't matter. He got the accuracy and the power where he needed. And it was a really, really nice finish. And he got the goal. He got the winning goal. And I'll be honest, he was still really ineffective beyond that. He scored and was pretty rubbish. That's a sign of a great player for me. He's starting to become a little bit more decisive for matches, and that's brilliant to see. Again, that's with Allegri playing him a bit closer to goal. That's with Leao evolving to this closer to goal position. It was great to have him on the score sheet. So he was bad, but I'll have to be honest. I can't really say much more beyond that because he's still got the winning goal and he did what he needed to do. But I wasn't particularly impressed with his overall play today. But I do think it's down to the fact I think he's still got a niggling problem. Didn't look as electric. There was a few runs that I think Modric made in particular from deep that Leao could have, I think, of pass chased and potentially won that ball, but he just didn't bother. He just kind of let up. So that's something to worth thinking about. In terms of the sort of overall performance of both teams, if you have a look, I mean, we had a little bit more possession, but again, first half it was all them. It was really from the second half onwards we were into the game. We had a much better XG of almost 1, so fair to score a goal. We had 11 shots in total with 4 of them on target. Cagliari had 6 with only 1 on target. We deserve to win the game. I'm really impressed by the defensive performance, or what I would actually rather say the midfield control of the game. Because once we won that, once we got the goal from Leao, we did try and push for the second, but it wasn't really working. And instead of forcing the issue, we were happy for Cagliari to have a little bit of possession and manage that middle and back part of the pitch quite well, which is something that we've really seen Allegri work on, being able to kind of shut down attacks with sort of confidence and calmness that we've not really had for quite a few number of years, to be honest. So from that perspective, I was quite happy with the performance. It's a 1-0. It was quite professional, in and out. You go to Sardinia, you get the 3 points and you leave. Like, that's it, right? So really happy with that. Yeah, really, really fantastic overall performance. Where do we go from here? I mean, ultimately, it's a great result. We don't really smash anyone. We haven't massively increased our goal difference, but we're sitting top of the table with 38 points. Obviously, Inter and Napoli still to play. We've still only lost 1 game all season. We have the second best goal difference in the league with plus 15. It was just a really nice professional performance. So yeah, lovely to see. Now let's talk a little bit about the subs. Obviously, Ricci came on for Fofana and Full Crew came on for Leao. I thought they were the absolute spot on substitutions. I was really happy with Allegri's game management tonight. Leao clearly was not fully fit. He needed to come off. He scored the goal. He just couldn't kind of basically stretched the defenses and wasn't able to run into the channels. So kind of why he's on the pitch. So that made sense. And also, I think Fofana, he had some good moments. Again, classic Fofana. He gave the ball away like 4 or 5 times in the first half. And then in the second half, he beats a couple of man and then gets a really nice ball and then loses the ball the next minute. Like, it's classic Fofana. Didn't think it was his best game. Glad he came off for Ricci, who I thought, again, was very solid. Doesn't really push the boat out. He's not actually as... creative's not the right word. He doesn't take as many risks as a Fofana does. He's a lot more tidy, kind of Hoover up type player. We have a few of those. Modric and Rabiot also really specialties at hoovering the ball up. So really, really nice. And then Gabbia came on for Estepinian, and then obviously Barte came on onto the left with Gabbia going a bit more central. So that was nice. Nice to see Gabbia get back into the fold. But yeah, full crew. What do I think? Full crew came on for Loftus-Cheek in the came on for Leao in the 79th. Pulisic came on for Loftus-Cheek, my bad. Pulisic looked good. He had a good shot on target that could have been a goal if maybe he went lower. But he looked, again, pretty effective when it comes to sort of finishing chances. So that was nice. But yeah, on full crew, before we end this instant reaction video, he's slow. But I have to say, in the 10-15 minute, well, he had half an hour, but the 10-15 minutes he was in the game, because it took him 10 or 15, didn't really touch the ball the first 10, but after that he kind of had a few nice touches, and he linked up quite nicely with Pulisic. It looked like they have a little bit of a natural connection. I think Pulisic feeds off having a reference point, because he did really well with those give and goes. Pulisic, is fantastic at that sort of play, and I think that's where he'll excel. So yeah, full crew was fine. He just looks quite slow, but he has a reference point. He's got some nice touches. I'll give him that. But I don't think I think we'll have to adapt our play a little bit with him in the pitch, because previously having Leao and Kunku, Pulisic, they're all players that can run into space and run into the ball. Full crew's not going to be able to do that. So if we can kind of keep the play between Pulisic and Füllkrug, or Füllkrug and Leao, or Füllkrug and Kunku, whatever variation we see in the coming matches, it would be nice to keep that sort of play within the center of the pitch, those give and goes, because I think that's where Füllkrug will be really effective. So yeah, I was quite happy with what we saw from my side. But again, he only got a cameo for 30 minutes with only really 10-15 of him actually being involved in the match. So jury's still out, but it'd be nice for him to get a start. He looks like he's in decent condition. So yeah, good to see him on the pitch straight away. Otherwise, ultimately, beyond the match, I want to see a centre-back come in. Getting a little bit fed up that we're seemingly kind of closing up shop unless we get some mad loan deal that's incredibly cheap, which is really shit, because we need a centre-back. And I'd potentially like to see another young player come in, maybe. But yeah, overall, to kind of close this instant reaction, a really professional 1-0 victory away from home that puts Milan back top of the table, and deservedly so, I would say. Poor first half with a little bit more of the same malaise that we have with lower teams, and I think the initial approach to the matches, whether it's a mentality thing, whether it's the hangover from Christmas and New Year's, it's the first game back. It was a Friday night fixture, and now we can watch all of our competitors have to get 3 points. We got the 3 points on the board. So although it wasn't a vintage Milan performance, there were more things to take away from this game than not like. And ultimately, we got the 3 points. And that really is all that matters. So it's quite nice to have this one game a week approach and have this really comfortable perspective as a Milan fan at the moment, and look at our team and go, as long as everyone stays fit, potentially we get that other centre-back. Yeah, I think we might be okay, and I think a genuine Scudetto charge is on the card. So yeah, for now, thank you so much for joining. Happy New Year to everyone listening. Obviously, keep checking on the Sempre Milan channels, and there's going to be a lot more content, obviously, for the second half of the season, and we're really hoping we can have that push. We've only got these games to focus on now, and it's going to be a fantastic 2026. And I think, really, the only thing to say is let's roll on to Genoa on the 8th on Thursday, and let's get another W. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. Forza Milan, ciao ragazzi, and yeah, we'll see you. We'll see you guys on the next one. Cheers.